Are you afraid of the voice on the other end of the telephone? Do cold callers send a shiver down your spine? Will anyone answer your prayers? HARKEN, the new release by Second Moon Productions, explores these fears. The demons who hide in whispered words, and the priest who just wants to help. My name is Reuben Morris-Dyer, radio host and film critic. I'm here to guide you on a journey into the creative process behind Second Moon Productions. Now, HARKEN is the new micro horror film with the tagline, The Exorcist Over the Telephone. It's directed, produced and composed by J.E. Dufton, and it's written by John Politis. And I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by both of them today. Jake, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Reuben. It's always lovely to see your charming, smiling face.
And likewise. Well, I'm very excited to talk to you about the film today. So first, tell me, what was it that made you want to tell the story of HARKEN? What was the inspiration, and what were some of the cultural touchstones that influenced you?
John and we both went to the same film school. We went to Met Film together. And at this point, we were doing the master's degree, and things weren't really rolling. We were very much itching to do more with the course.
I think we were just frustrated. We wanted to just make a movie rather than just make random school videos or whatever. So we were just going through different genres maybe, or ideas for what we could make with our budget and our equipment. Pretty early on, landed on the idea of making a horror.
I said to John, well, how about this idea of making horror movies like the greats, like Friedkin's Exorcist, but really scale it down and really focus on a sort of specific horror element, which is the sound. What if The Exorcist was over the phone? And that's really where everything spiraled. And then so John was sort of tasked with writing it, and I would go away and direct it.
For you, is there something about religious horror that particularly resonates? Why is this a well that we keep coming back to?
I think what we wanted to do was really tap into the iconography of it. There's such powerful images which come with religious storytelling. You grow up around, even if you're not intending to, especially when I grew up in Greater Manchester and where I went to school in Bury, there's a big just Christianity all around you, there's churches every corner. That's what I wanted to tap into, because I've never actually seen this type of horror movie with a priest that you would see at a Sunday fair. Just the kindness, general Church of England-esque kindness, that's what I thought would be really nice to sort of take in the direction of somewhat overused religious horror.
Did you enjoy creating the character of Father Joseph? Is there something fun about writing a character who's supposed to stand for everything good and virtuous in the world, but gets corrupted?
So that's an interesting question. Vicars and priests and all the people in the church, they are supposed to have this guidance, this role of being the shepherd and the protector for the everyday people. So to take that and turn that concept on its head, it can be quite useful for horror. Because when you were expecting this character to be your protector, suddenly he's the predator, he's the evil presence in the film. And I think that's quite effective.
I think Father Joseph was just really interesting in the way that it is such a big juxtaposition. And when we were doing the casting for the role, Christopher Lloyd James, who came out, Chris, a great actor, great guy to work with, he had this persona, and I think that really linked itself to the character. On paper, he just could be any old priest. Chris was able to do both sides of the coin. He was able to deliver a very sweet, very normal performance as Father Joseph, and then when he does, spoiler alert, gets possessed by the demon over the phone, he has this instant menace, was able to just capture evil like that. I think that really helped me as a director. It was better to see when we were able to work with the actor to create a far more in-depth character.
I was really hooked from the very opening of this film, because you used the most brilliant sort of twisted variation of Beethoven's Ode to Joy. I really was interested in the way that you take that piece of music and then you corrupt it slightly. It starts out as we know it in a kind of major key, and then it switches into a more sinister minor tone. Can you tell me how you approached the score? Because I have to say, I thought it was really excellent and very effective at creating an unsettling atmosphere.
So when I actually got down to it, after our amazing editor, Ruby Blake, gave me the final version of the film, after Abbas had created this beautiful color grade as well that made it look so sinister, very Hammer horror, very old school, then I could finally sit down and have a think about what this is going to sound like. And originally I had this really bold orchestral organ piece with these voices of me singing every line in this big demonic chorus. It was just too much. It was just really too much, and I wanted to strip it back. Do a micro horror film, scale it really down. So the score then becomes more soundscapey, panned across different areas. So when you listen to it, it feels like it's coming from different corners, like voices talking to each other, which is how I dealt with that part of the score. However, I did have this beautiful opening sequence that we put in, and I could do something a little more melodic. And I thought, well, what's the best way to do this? This opens it. I want to create a perversion of liturgical music. And I was very much inspired by An Ode to Joy, because it really is the opposite. It's an ode to fear and an ode to doubt. I also was inspired by the Saint Clement tune, which is used in the hymn The Day Thou Gavest.
You talked a bit about the sound earlier, but I was really struck by the way that you've created that voice of the devil that we hear over the phone. How did you go about creating this sort of satanic sound?
When I was first writing it, I'm not really sure if I was expecting it to just be generic demon's voice here, or so a man's voice, or just the Susan, the female caller's voice. I was really pleasantly surprised to see that through all these different processes that we went through, we were able to create something truly unreal and unnerving.
See, Chris is on screen all the time, from minute 1 to minute 7. Rachel Brown, who portrays Susan, is on the phone, so we got her in to record her dialogue, but we also got Chris back in to record elements of the demon voice as well. It is a transfer from Susan's beautifully soft Irish tone in Rachel's native accent to Chris's gruff version of the demon voice that he created. We thought, oh, I want to have this idea of Legion, many voices coming together to create one. We are Legion, for we are many. So I thought, oh, let's layer it, because we could just do a version where we just manipulate Rachel's voice and then bleed into Chris's, that's slightly manipulated. And I thought, it's not very interesting. You get many voices. You get my voice in there, of course, as a shameless cameo, but also there are utterings in Greek, reversed, which was done by our amazing writer John, and then Rachel just delivers this brilliant demonic performance. I'd been inspired by that common fact about American Psycho, that when Willem Dafoe was portraying his police detective, he delivered it 3 separate ways in 3 different aspects. And when I was directing Rachel, I want to do the same. I want it to be like, you are not possessed, you are on the verge of possession, or you are already possessed. The variation of her performance comes from that different sense of layering. And so we had loads and loads of takes that I just cherry-picked for different bits.
While I was on set, it wasn't going to be my initial role at first. I was just as a general helper there. But we did need somebody to be reading to Chris and to be the person responding on the phone for him. And I took on that role for at least one of those days. And so I ended up being the demon. I don't know if that helped Chris's performance or hindered it, but I'm glad I was there to do it.
Fantastic. Well, my final question is inspired by the fact that the film has something of an open ending, and I want to know what happens next. Could you make a sequel to Harken? Could we get Harken 2?
Well, I think even while we were talking about it on that first talk back in Ealing, we were thinking about a cinematic universe of horror. Back then, I think we did imagine a concept of what does Father Joseph do after this. He leaves the church, he goes to preach the good word, infect more people of his congregation with this demonic presence. That, for sure, I think could potentially be another film. But in the end, we decided to just, let's do something new, something different.
The idea of Second Moon Productions was built on the foundation of what happens next. What would happen, not necessarily to the linear characters, it was all about the evil of sound, the passing of words, the noises that you hear that trigger you in a certain way that makes you act out of character. That was the genesis for our next film.
The project initially was called HARKEN 2. I still have it on my computer, actually, called that. Eventually it was named Live Music. Potentially it's in the same universe of strange things happening to English people in the countryside or abroad or anywhere.
A spiritual sequel of sorts, then. You can check out Harken on the Second Moon Productions YouTube page, and make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss any of the uploads coming up. Well, that was J.E. Dufton and John Politis talking about their new micro horror film, Harken. I have to say, I'm feeling quite creeped out after all that, so I'm going to go and have a lovely soothing cup of tea. As soon as I've answered this call from an unknown number.